A chord is an important part of playing the banjo or any instrument. A chord is based on a minimum of 3 notes played simultaneously. If you play just one note, that's a note. 2 notes is called a double stop. If you put 3, that is a true chord, also known as a triad because there's 3 notes on that. Now, when we're first learning chords on the banjo, we're going to use something called a chord diagram. You'll see this on page 31. A chord diagram is like tablature turned 90 degrees. You'll see there a chord diagram of a G chord. The vertical lines are the strings this time. The horizontal lines are going to be the frets on the banjo. If there is a circle at the top of each of those lines, that represents the string being played in an open position. That means no fingers are going to be touching the strings at all. There are basically 3 chords we're going to use when we play the banjo. The G chord, and by the way, this tuning is called G tuning, or just bluegrass tuning, bluegrass G tuning. So when you play the 5 strings all at the same time, that's a G major chord. We're going to use a couple other chords, the C and a D7, which will give us enough chords just to play the basic songs we need for bluegrass. In fact, I would say 70 to 80% of all bluegrass music is basically just those 3 chords. It's just that easy. Music is based on 3 elements. There is harmony, that would be like a chord. There is a rhythm, that is like the timing. On guitars it would be the strumming. On the banjo we're going to use kind of like a roll, it's a pattern. The third element, which is really what makes the song, is the melody. The melody is something like that based upon a scale. When you put these 3 elements together, the chord, the rhythm, and the melody, you have more or less a song. Now, if any of these is out a little bit, if the banjo is out of tune, it's not going to sound good. If your timing is not right, if it's slow and then fast, that's not going to be a very good sounding song either. This is what makes the difference between really good banjo players and a beginner. You have to have all of the elements together. You have to be in tune, you have to have your chords, and you also have to have your timing just right. On page 36 of the Bluegrass Banjo book, we're going to have some examples that you can practice along with. And I wanted to explain a little bit about these different examples and the timing. This is the rhythm, or how long a note lasts. If you look on example 1, what's going to happen is we're going to start playing the 3rd string open, that's your G, and count to 4. That's a whole measure. That's divided with those vertical lines, so you'll hit the 3rd string G and count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and again 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 2nd string you would count 4 on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you would place your 1st finger at the 2nd string, 1st fret, and then also count that for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 1st string open is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's how you would play example number 1 with the recording. And by the way, on the right hand, I'm using my thumb for the 3rd string. I'm using my index for the 2nd string notes, and I'm using my middle finger for the 1st string notes. Okay? Let's count this off. I'll give you 1 measure count off so we can start together. This is example number 1. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, here we go. Open G string, 2, 3, 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second string, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then first fret on the second string, 3, 4, and then open first string, 2, 3, 4. Example 2 has the same notes, but they are faster. These are called half notes. A half note, you'll have 2 notes in the space of one measure, and each note will have a line. Because there's 2, and a measure has 4 counts, so it's 4 divided by 2, they get 2 counts each. Here's how we're going to do example 2. It's the same notes, but they're just twice as many. Are you ready? Let's try this together. I'll count it off. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Example 2. Open, 2, open, 2, and then second fret, 2, 3, 4, and then open second string, 2, 3, 4, and then first finger, first fret, and then open first string. Let's try that one more time. 1, 2, 3, here we go. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Those are half notes. Example number 3 uses quarter notes. These are twice as fast as a half note. A measure is how many counts? 4 counts. There are 4 notes in that measure, so each one will get 1 count. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. Also, you'll notice that these notes have lines underneath them, just like the half notes. But they are faster because there's 4 in the measure. Again, we're going to use the same notes, but twice as many of them. This is example number 3. I'm going to count it off. Let's play it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second, 2, 3, 4. Open second string. First fret. And then open. On page 37, you'll see an example in the tablature of some notes that are 2 counts and some that are 1 count. In that first measure, you have an open third string, and you'll count it for 2 counts. Then you have the third string again for 2 more notes, but each is 1 count. So that first measure would be played like this. Now I'm going to count it off. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a half note. 1, 2, and then 2 quarter notes. 3, 4. Now when you look at the tablature, can you see how the first note has more space between it and the second note than the second note has to the third note? That's like an interval of holding that first note for 2 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at the second measure. I'm on page 37 still. The second measure also has 3 notes, but can you see that the timing is different? The first note gets 1 count, the second note gets 1 count, that third note gets 2 counts, and you'll see an extra space after that. The same goes for the third measure. It's a quarter note, half note, and the last measure, the fourth measure, it's a half note for 2 counts and then a quarter. Here's how that whole line would sound. See if you can follow along with me. I'm going to count it off. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are notes we use in timing. That's the whole note, 4 counts. Half note, 2 counts. The quarter note, 1 count. 1 on every count or every beat. In example number 4, we have a faster note. This is called the 8th note. An 8th note gets half a count or half a beat. You'll notice in example 4, you'll have the note head with the stem, and it's got that line connecting them. That's called a bar line. That simply means that those two notes together, combined together, are worth one count. Now, if you were to tap your foot on the count, say 1, 2, 3, 4, every time your foot comes up, that would be an eighth note. That's known as and. If you're old as I am, you'll remember Lawrence Welk. And he would take his baton and go a 1 and a 2 and a 3, like that. You always have that baton going up. And, or you'll see conductors in an orchestra that when their arms go up, that means and. So you count eighth notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Most bluegrass music uses eighth notes. Bluegrass banjo, that is. They're faster and they're fun. Let's take a look at example 4. Measure 1 only. Let's look at measure 1. I'm playing the 3rd string, which is open, and I'm going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You see that? There was 8 notes squeezed into the space of one measure of 4 counts. Interesting. The second measure, same timing, but we're going to use the 2nd fret on the G string. It would count like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Measure 3 is the open 2nd string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Using my index finger, by the way. Measure 4, 1st fret 2nd string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Measure 5, open 1st string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and finally back to the 3rd string open. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's play it together. Got your banjo? Let's try it. Here's the count. A 1, 2, 3, and go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You know what I just realized? I forgot to do the 1st string. So everyone makes mistakes, so don't feel bad if you mess up, because I just messed that up. And I'm not going to erase that on this presentation, just to let you know that everybody makes mistakes. How about that? Example 5. I think you're getting the idea though, aren't you? I hope. Example 5 has a different style. You'll notice the double bar. There's a thick line with 2 little eyeballs looking back, 2 dots. That's called a repeat sign. And what happens on that is you'll play those first 3 measures and then repeat it back to the beginning and start over again. It just saves having to write it all the way out again. At the top of the 3rd measure, you'll see a bracket with a 1 in there. That means first ending. What that means is as you go through the song the first time, 1st, 2nd, 3rd measure, you repeat back, you'll do the 1st measure again, you'll do the 2nd measure again, but you'll skip that 3rd measure and jump over to 2nd ending. A little confusing, but that's the way music is written. Example 5 would look like this. 1st measure, then 1st ending, and again repeat it, and then 2nd ending. That little squiggly line on the 2nd ending, you've got 2 of those. Those are called quarter rest. That means you play nothing for 1 whole count. You take a break. And then the double bar at the end, thick and a thin line with no 2 dots. That's called fine, which means the end, fine.